what is it about him that sets people off so that they become raving and dangerous lunatics?
You know, I mean, McCain was owned by everybody. Romney was owned by everybody. I mean, they were all conformists, right? I mean, they went to D.C. They made no difference whatsoever. Listen, my father is controversial, and he has this unvarnished honesty. If he thinks we're being ripped off by China, he'll tell you we're being ripped off by China. If he thinks it's wrong, that tons of fentanyl are being smuggled into our country and killing all of our youth, then he'll say it very loud. If he thinks it's insane that a 6'5" man my size is swimming in collegiate women's sports, he'll come out and say it, and he doesn't give a damn. He does not care. He does not care to be politically correct. And by the way, he's bucked the entire system. I mean, this is a guy who's been in D.C. 10 times before he was president, all building a hotel, by the way, which I was building, who literally went to Washington, D.C., who self-funded a campaign and built beat the greatest political dynasty, maybe of the last century, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton at their own game, with no support from anyone, no endorsements in 2016, right? And then turned the whole system upside down. Believe me, he went out there and he was flicking the hornet's nest time and time again, and the hornet's nest was pissed and they came after him. They didn't go after him that way in 2016. I mean, you had the media that didn't treat him fair and, et cetera, but they didn't go after him. You know when they went after him? When he decided to rerun for president of the United States because they realized what a great threat he was. And so, I think it's why Americans love him. I think it's why, he's the greatest rhino hunter in the history of the world. Dinesh, he's killed more rhinos in Washington, D.C. than anybody in history. They're all gone. And now you finally have a party that's fighting, and you have the most powerful Republican Party ever, and you've got the weakest Democratic Party, and he's throwing so much lead in the air that the Democrats and the media can't even counter narrative anymore. I mean, he's doing such a damn good job, and he's making this country very proud. So I love the man to death, and I am one of the few who's nonstop stood on that stage every single day for 12 years. I mean, he went down that escalator, I was on that stage, and I have never left. And it hasn't been easy. They put a lot of arrows in my back, and I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for doing it. But I'll never stop fighting because I believe in this country. I love this country. I love everything it stands for. And it was going to hell under these, imbeciles.
I mean, one thing that's happened to you, it's happened to me, but I think it's also happened to your dad, is that we start out with a certain kind of nice guy presumption about our opponents. And we extend all kinds of courtesies and generosities to them until we discover that there's a gangsterism on their side that takes advantage of our goodwill. I mean, if I look at your dad in the first term, he made a lot of efforts to sort of meet people halfway. And I think had they treated him decently, he would have continued in that path. He's almost like Mel Gibson in the beginning of the movie The Patriot. He's minding his own business. He doesn't really want to join the Revolutionary War. He doesn't really feel like he has a big stake in it. But when essentially injustice comes to his front door and he sees it up close, he can't unsee it. Then he's like, all right, well, I guess this is what you're asking for. So you're going to get a very different guy going to the war. I think your dad now has been, in a way, remade by the gangsterization that he's experienced. So the things you describe in your book have actually produced a different sort of Trump 47 than the Trump 45. The Trump 45 was actually downright great, but the Trump 47 is something else to behold.
Oh, I was telling people a year ago, a year and a half ago, he will win the race, and it's going to be Trump on steroids, right? And listen, now we have the House, we have the Senate, we have 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. Obviously, we have the executive branch, and you have a cabinet of absolute fighters. I think the Mel Gibson analogy is spot on, right? I mean, Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails. Could you imagine? They made up sham trials against my father, $130,000. They closed down New York for 4 months, right? I mean, shut down the epicenter of this country to try and charge him with 34, faux BS convictions. She deleted 33,000 emails while under a congressional subpoena, laughed about it. Oh, haha, what did I do with, bleach? Did I do it with, what did I do? Just delete it? And he was graceful. I was there. I was right by his side when she called him to concede that night. And wow, was he graceful. Do you think they would have done that to Donald Trump? Donald Trump would have been in Alcatraz at this point, or a modern day equivalent of it, had he deleted 33,000 emails. They funded dirty dossiers against my father, making up stories that he liked to do certain things that was totally fabricated. Dinesh, I was the guy that was getting the calls from the FBI saying, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating directly with the Kremlin. We didn't have secret servers. The BS that they made up, the stories that they told, the lawfare, we probably spent $400 million defending a company against bogus attacks and all because of their lies and their games. And the entire time he was graceful to all these people who had clearly broken the law just because he didn't want the spiral down effect of the country. And then over the last week, I get to hear, oh, they're politically prosecuting James Comey because he lied directly to Ted Cruz on camera. Unequivocally, he lied. I don't want to hear it from these people. I mean, their entire government, their entire FBI, was geared toward taking down Donald Trump or people that supported him, i.e. January 6th. But yet, they would break into the iPhone of every person who walked into the Capitol. And yet, you have two people who tried to blow off his head and somehow they can't manage to find their way into their iPhones, right? I think this entire country finds it incredibly disingenuous.
You've heard me talk about movement mortgage and reverse mortgages on my podcast. Most people who are over 62 and close to or in retirement think that reverse mortgages are to be avoided and something that is not good for them or not good for their kids. Well, you should get the truth. I read a book, kind of opened my eyes. It debunks the myths. It shows that most people should look at these reverse mortgages as soon as they turn 62 and not as a last resort. You can get this book free from our trusted partner, Movement Mortgage. Very simple. Go to movement.com/Dinesh or you can call 580-REVERSE, 580-738-3773, NMLS ID 39179.